message. I don't need no messages. Just need to see me. See me. All right. So, in your return to life, I want us to, can we move a little closer? I feel like you guys are far away from me. If you don't mind, scooch, scooch. So let's talk a little bit of history, right? So, the word repertoire comes from the dance culture. Did I press turn on that? Right, comes from dance culture. When Joe originally did this, he didn't write this book, okay? This is not him writing this. There are some archival things like the letters in the beginning, right? Like the letter to the president where he thinks like everyone should be doing it in all America, right? So this was compilated or put together, if that's the right English word, put together. He didn't put it together. So you need to understand that when it says the exercises, it's because that's what someone called it. It's repertoire because Joe called it that when the dancers started to come. Now, can we prove it? No. But remember, he was a nobody. He had like maybe 10 or 12 students until these New York City ballerinas who were injured needed to come for rehab. Now, what a brilliant thing. He had something good going. It got better when the dancers showed up. Let's be real for a second. He didn't have the system perfected and he told the dancers what to do. He was organic. He created things in real time for the body that he was seeing in front of him to rehab. That is how repertoire came to be. It wasn't like he sat down and wrote a perfect manual, and then when an injured dancer came in, he said, oh, number 8 is for you. It was such a beautiful coming together, the symbiotic dance that we now say is true classical. But if you actually think about the history of it, that's pretty cool in and of itself. It's like you have a plan for your life, but then maybe you meet the love of your life, and then you kind of mesh together and come up with a new idea of where you want to live and what you want to do and how you want to do it. Yeah. Right? And it was the same with this. So, I literally just said it's not called exercise, and you flip to the front page, it says the exercises. Know the history, right? And unless someone knows the history, how would you know, right? I just want us to literally geek out on picture by picture before we get into all of this, because this to me, let it be known on camera, when I grow up, if I don't become a doctor, I want to work at a classical studio and only teach the 34. I'll be the 34 girl. I will not get the tattoo on my belly button, because as we know, 6 children, a little wrinkly, a little deformed.
I'll be 33.
Right?
Omit sealed.
Right? Omit sealed. Right? So, that's hilarious. First things first, let's look at the picture of the 100 on page 44. The legs start low, they lift high. That's the first thing you've got to notice, right? How hard is that to lift from the ground up? It's super hard, right? I don't like in these pictures that you don't see the hands anchored at the hips. Take a look at the bottom of page 45 under remarks. At first, you probably will not be able to carry out instructions as illustrated.
True.
Right? This proves why these exercises and all succeeding ones will benefit you. However, with patience and perseverance, you eventually should succeed. This kills me every time I read it out loud. In achieving the ideals as posed with accompanying normal health. That's a podcast. Mm-hmm. This is why contemporary happened. It's so hard to execute. And contemporary was rehabilitation, breaking it down in modifiers that became its own modality, because this is hard. On page 1 it says, you should be able to at some point, maybe. Kind of, sort of. But now, I digress. Let's go to the roll-up. What do we notice about the toes for the start?
They're pointed.
What do we notice when the arms are raised?
Reflex.
There you go. The arms are also reaching to the high 45. And where's his head?
In line with this line.
It is, but it's also right down on his knees.
His
Oh,
nose
sorry,
is
the
right
last
down
one.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And his hands are passed. Okay?
And they're almost like, it looks like they're in too.
Yeah?
Yeah,
It's almost like
they're-
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. All right, let's flip. We haven't learned this one. It's called the rollover. Okay? Starting position looks like the 100. Legs come to the 90. Looks like a jackknife. Touching the feet behind. Take a look at his right hand. Is he perfect?
I was just looking at that.
Tyrannosaurus frickin' Rex. Because let's go back to page 45 where it says, at first you, however, with, eventually should. I just want to highlight reality. Instructions for single leg circle. The only time I ever cue that the anchoring leg can point is if you're doing the full swoop around, because most people, if they're doing the full circle, they're going to hit because they don't have the control, right? So when you're training up the whole outside circle to the mid, to the shoulder, to the other shoulder, when you're training that up, because that's eventually what your circles do, we'll learn it. I like to say point the toes so they can feel the fluidity and then control the scope. That's also why Grand Rond de Jambe happens before this, okay? So let's look at the picture. You've got the foot in flexion. Can you take a look? Is his leg fully pressed down in that first picture? No? But look how nice his shoulders are. So in a real body, even in an advanced body, like you can't maybe have both. You can't have your cake and eat it
So then
too.
his shoulders come up in the second image.
That's right. Like you see, I know in my book, I've made so many little, you know. All right, let's go for rolling back, which we know is rolling like a ball. I want you to take a look at the third picture and put a little star. Never do.
Damn.
However, how about we say never teach?
Mhm.
Okay? If they can do this, they can most certainly get the cue, pull your knees on your nose for single knee stretch, can't they? Because look, his knees are right on his face, and he keeps the entire shape. All right, single leg stretch. We're starting from a lying down position, right? Now we know in classical we have that transition, but if you look, you're also using the long lever. You're lifting up from the 100, technically, and you're getting the knee on the chin or the nose, and you're pulling it in. Look how low that other leg is. It's not at the high 45. You can't even tell if it's like lying on the floor.
Covering.
Like it's hard to even notice fully. In pose number 2, it actually says the chin must touch the chest. You must see your toes. Heels must be raised.
He's also not switching the grip of his hands.
No.
They're the same on both sides.
Yep. Excellent observation. Maybe up a bit too high in the third pose if I'm going to be a brat about it. Because if you see in the second picture, all of his ribs are on the mat. And the third one, he's kind of compensate. It's kind of lifted a bit too high. But this one, not so different than what you guys are doing. We're not in any extreme. Double leg stretch. We've got longer variation with no hands overhead, right?
So I guess he's just like coming up and he's just going this way and this way.
Yes.
Oh,
So no opposition.
wow.
Arms stretched straight forward beside body. And we'll talk about all this, but look at how his legs are. It's not the high 45 because he's got no anchor for the back 45 with his arms. It kind of reminds me a little bit of boat pose, but lower.
Yeah.
It's like a pancaked one,
Yeah.
right?
No boat.
No
No
boat.
boat.
No boat. We're no boating. All right, spine stretch. Look how far past his feet, the hands are. Look how pulled in the abs are. You can actually start between picture number 2 and 3. You see how it goes.
Yeah.
No, he's overcompensating in the first one because he's pushing down to sit up. So we learned this cue where, you know how I always say, if I have my hand on your head and you push me away, you can get that yourself. Like pushing, it gets too long, and then you still got to pull it in before you move. But I mean, that's a real spine stretch right there. So we can see now, so far, the nuances is that it's very extreme. The C shape is deepened. The extension is always available. And yet, still there's some cheats, okay? Open leg rocker. I want you to take a look how he's getting into it. He's leaning back to pull forward. We pull forward to lean back. This is harder. Because you've got to be able to scoop from underneath to lift high. And an open leg rocker, he touches the feet behind the head. Look at that last picture. Roll backwards, trying to touch the mat or floor with your toes. So everything's just increasing in extension and flexion. All right, corkscrew, you've got the full variation now. The full variation. We're not doing little circles, you're doing big, grandioso drawing around in a full motion, right? Also, not heels together, toes apart. It's really hard with heels together, toes apart when you're doing the biggest circle, and you'll see that when we do our leg circles from here, because that comes later on in contrology. What else do we notice here? What do you notice in picture number 2? What's it look like? Yeah, looks like shoulder bridge to jackknife. Good. All right, flip the page. Saw, where is his head?
Way back here.
Right, where is it? My God, is his head even on the leg or is it past?
It's a
Look at
shadow.
it.
It's just gone.
It's his head. Like, you know? But see, it no longer is a twist and saw. He is C-shaping his spine because he has the ability to. So most people won't get there, and that's okay. They don't need to. But if you think of him being able to go past those feet in spine stretch forward, he's not reaching, he's pulling and lifting up and over an arc. So when he's doing his saw, we twist and we're pulling back for 3, pull back for 2. He's able to lift, scoop, and dive, and his head is almost here. If not, right? I teach you a neck pull prep for that guy. And his feet are wider than hip distance. Still in dorsal flexion, sit bones are anchored. I'm a little picky on pose number 3, the third picture, with that palm lifted like that. The backhand, I don't like that. That's just me. We haven't learned swan dive. But let's just take a look. He's in prone position. Hairy part of the knuckles are pushed down in picture number 1. Looks like swan prep in number 2. And then we've got full extension. And then you rock back and forth on the hip bones and the pubic bone. Look how high his legs are back there. Swan dive is also known as rocking prep. Because rocking is when you grab your legs back. I've started teaching this one on long box and reformer. Even though it's not a reformer move when you're on long box. Did we do it?
We did it and
Yeah.
we used like the thing.
Yeah.
That was nice actually.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, started doing it at Grimsby too for just the Friday at 10. Right? Single leg kick. He's tripoded up. Right? Toes are pointed. Looks the same. Nothing looks that different to me. Right? This one's pretty much. I do want you to make a note, whether you want to write in your book. For single leg kick, this is where dynamic rhythm comes in, not just flow. We talk about the difference between flow and dynamic rhythm. We're going to do that tomorrow. Dynamic rhythm. Double leg kick. Let's take a look, take some time to observe. Is he on his right cheek or left cheek?
He's on his chin.
He's on his chin. He's face down. Rest chin on mat or floor. Do we think it would be easier or harder, and why?
Chin? Harder.
Well, think about the anatomy that we studied briefly last weekend. We were talking about what plane is it that rotates. You can look in your anatomy section if you want. What plane? Is it the sagittal? Is that, I'm giving you hints now, what 3 planes is when we get the twisting?
Oh. I put something here. What's this?
Your sagittal plane.
So it's harder, I think, to do the twisting. This is easier. Why do we teach it? Because most people's spinal columns have to be compartmentalized to get the extension. You're short-chaining it. You're breaking. We're
Do you think it's more comfortable for some people's neck too to be on the side?
And it kind of, it's the same as when we lower our legs to get up and over. That swooping motion, it just helps a little.
Yeah.
So we teach the harder variation, but this means their body is more open. But of course their body is more open if you saw swan dive earlier, a couple of repertoire before, right? Here is the neck pull. I want you to circle it and I want you to write hinge back, hinge back. Teach it with the hinge back until someone is able to. But you see how, I'll wait till you write that. How wide and open his elbows are. Look at pose number 3, that picture. What in the world? Those elbows are not coming forward. They are not, I love it. And this is why I am such a bully about keep your elbows down, keep your elbows down, keep your elbows down, until you can trust that when you lift them, they are not going here. And even in some classes, I haven't done it for a while, but now I'm remembering myself, when they start to hover, tap the elbows, push down, curl up higher, lift the elbows, tap the elbows, lift the elbows, tap the elbows. Make sure they're still pulling back. As keep reaching for the floor, curl up higher, curl up higher. That's some hard work right there, right? It's the small movements that really confound us. But look at his head. Where's his head?
On his knees.
And can we see a nice C shape of the spine in pose number 2 and 4? Absolutely. Toes are in dorsiflexion the whole time. All right. So pull switch, or scissor kick switch. This is the real one in elevation. We did practice it a little last week, and at the front 45, well, I think you did, I did, but like, we watched. But look at the angle. It is equal angles, it is equal ratios. And he's starting from the ground, not the 90. You know, we take our legs to 90, we lean back, we come all the way up and over. He's starting from the ground up.
And just brings the legs up and over from there.
What a thing to be able to do.
It's hard.
That's wild.
Isn't it? This is why I geek out, but this is also why it comes weekend number 3. We talked about it a little last weekend, is that it would make sense to start with the real stuff first, but you can see how ridiculous that would be.
Yeah.
Right? So, it's so hard. Then you can see the nuance of bicycle. Where did we learn bicycle first? Side kick series. Kick forward, point back. Kick forward, keep the leg extended, bend the knee. You know, we nuance that. This is foundations, kick forward, point back. This is intermediate. It's one of your variations. Heel to bum, extend. Remember we did that? Because look what you're doing here. And then this is the one where we transition right into shoulder bridge. Did we practice that last week?
Oh, where you like stay up?
Yeah, and then flip. Did we practice it?
No, we didn't.
Oh, okay. I did it in the White Oaks group this Wednesday. We're going to practice that. Maybe that's where we'll start today. Let's see. But then look, you come right down into shoulder bridge, right? Shoulder bridge with leg extension. His hands are on his hips.
But he does start with his pelvis on the ground.
Yeah.
So is he? So
He's
from
landed.
from the bicycle,
Mm-hmm.
does he roll down through his spine, or is he landing on his feet?
He lands on his feet, usually.
Oh.
I'll show you, I'm not very warm. Usually it's the articulation up after. So let's say you're here and you've bicycled and it feels good and you've done it not loose noodle but in proper form. And then you would put your hands to the small of the back, get it high, and you want to dive up and over your hands and lifting, heels to bum, lift, and then you transition into your bridge. And then roll down upper. I gotta pull my belly button down, middle, lower back. Right? So that they have that feel. Now, when you get advanced, you could just flip down and then right? You can, but you gotta make sure you trust the peeps. The peoples. Most people need a break after they land, to be honest. Now, here's the new one. It looks like saw, but there's no sign. It's just spine twist. On reformer, twist and reach. Right? With that one. Jackknife. Look at the bottom picture.
Look at his hands. Whoa.
I know. That's wild, hey?
Like he's like this.
Shoulder.
I know. But to be able to hold the 90 like that,
And like the one hand looks like it's like palm up.
yeah, it's really messy down there. It's got some really messy hands. Page 82. But you can see how, like, this is where I could geek out for hours, and I won't. But if you take a look at pose number 3, picture number 3, look how far past his head the toes are. Right? He's in an extension. Now I'm going to guess if we saw it in real life, those toes would have made an arc as they lifted up through, because he's in a nice extension through the back of those legs. Everything is pulling up. I would guess though that there's probably some discrepancy in his thighs. Probably had some kind of like discrepancy right by the left kneecap, because they look a little too forward. But for all extensive purposes, he's pulling up through. The heel doesn't look super active, but the toes do. Which could be why he's compensating with his hands. This is why archival stuff is kind of cool to geek out on. We don't know. We weren't there. Right? All right. look how he's doing side kick. What do we notice? What's different here?
He doesn't have a hand in front of him supporting.
Palm over palm at the base of the neck. Well, actually, he hasn't injured his fingers. So let's be real about that too. We don't cue that. We cue palm over palm. Right? Good extension backwards though. All right, teaser. He starts seated. He does a roll down, half roll down with legs extended, and then he comes up into teaser. Do you see how high he is in picture number 3? Mm-hmm. That is the teaser. He's starting to extend down for picture number 4. Rolling, he pivots. He's starting to return. It's his descent. But look how long his arms are reaching nonetheless. Under this one, I would like you, in picture number 2, to draw an upward big arrow and 3 little downward arrows. You see for picture number 2, 1 big arrow and 3 little down arrows. Actually, I should probably show the camera. Because we're going to talk about what that means tomorrow with your cueing. I wrote in eccentric. This is where you get strong, right? When I did my original training. So I find it very wild. This to me is like the wild, wild west. Let's flip to the hip twist with stretched arms. It mimics corkscrew and teaser combined. And look how far back the arms are. Most people can't do that. The truth is in the name. It is a hip twist. What does it mean to twist your hips and why? We discussed that, right? And this one has a new terminology. We actually do say swing the legs. You know when you're doing corkscrew, you say draw the legs, or move the legs, or circle the legs. This one you need the swinging momentum. You never hear in leg circle, in swing around. I don't say it. But for this one, you have to cue the swing, otherwise they're not going to be able to have the centrifugal force, that's the word I'm looking for, the centrifugal force to pull it up again. Right? Because they've got to get the motion going. An object in motion stays in motion. Right? Oh, his swimming is so pretty. Let's flip. The one thing that I notice in these pictures is that the head has that extra flexion. It's back a little. It's not straight. Straight would be extension. He's now taking flexion back because he's making a C shape.
I always wonder where the neck should be anytime that you're in any sort of like back bend.
Yeah.
Like I always feel like you should have your neck in line with the spine, like
yes.
nose towards the top of the back instead of dumping, so that you can like feel like you're getting higher.
Yeah. When we do pulling straps on long box, I hate as a teacher when people lift their head right away.
Yeah.
I'm like, on the last one. Because same thing. I'm with you on that, right? But if you take a look here, he's lifting his head in picture number 2.
Right.
He's not waiting until he gets into that flow.
Because it gives you the feeling of being higher when you're actually not necessarily getting higher.
No, and you might not be able to achieve that height naturally.
Right.
We don't know, right? We just don't know. Now, if you also look, the entirety in picture number 3 of his thigh is off. Look at it.
It's crazy.
It is really just the hips and the pubic bone down. Good for him. We'll celebrate your win, pal. All right, leg pull, also known as front pull forward. Okay, when we learn this, we do not have our leg in extension that high. In classical modern, we would call that arabesque when the leg goes higher than the hip. Does that align in your dancer's world?
Yeah, totally.
Good, because that's what we say in Pilates. As soon as the back leg lifts higher, we're in a different format.
But so if the leg is lower, but it's still behind you, it's not considered arabesque anymore?
No, would it be in dance?
Yes.
Why? What does the arabesque stand for?
The arabesque is the line towards the back.
The line towards the back.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's high or low?
No, you can have arabesque and it's just here.
Huh?
Yeah. If it's on the ground and it's in tendu, like anything that's on the ground is on point on tendu, but if it's behind you and you're lifting the leg, this is still
Anything
arabesque.
lifted.
This is still arabesque, yeah.
And so we have perverted to say the lift has to come higher than the hip, because
Yeah.
to us, the lift would be from that extended point.
Yeah.
Huh,
But you can still find that extension with keeping the leg low.
right. See, I learned something new. I had 0 ideas.
Yeah, interesting.
That is interesting. And it also doesn't mean that it's wrong in the sense that, again, taking dancer terms and putting them in Pilates so that that's what we say, but maybe not fully understanding the fullness of the dancer's repertoire. Because one thing Joe wasn't was a dancer. He was a boxer and a gymnast. He also wasn't a yogi. Remember, he pulled, he extrapolated. But you see, I don't like the head in picture number 2. You see how it's pulling up? I don't like that. But then we go to leg pull, right? So you do your flip over. What do we notice in his hands?
They're turned out.
They're turned out. Absolutely. Make a note of it. You can either circle it or write it on the side. Under cautions, it actually says arms must be shoulder wide in right angle position. It's because he's trying to go for such high extension. He's counterbalancing the weight. But we talk about if we want to do that or not, but we learn it. Flip the page, kneeling side kick series. Now his leg is angled. You know, we learned to kick forward, point back, keep it on a flat coffee table, blah, blah, blah. You can see clearly it's going on a diagonal. In picture number 4, you can actually see his navel pulling in opposition. That's hard to bring it forward and pull the abs back. So it's not only the leg anymore now. Now we are moving in opposition. Kneeling side kick series is a beast. I usually do kick forward, pull back. Your sidelines with lower lift. And most people are dead by that time. All right, side bend. It's not part of your repertoire in classical mat until you get to contrology. Feet are stacked. You push down to get up. You straight line side plank, and then it's a mermaid variation arm. I've seen this done a few different ways. I don't prefer to see this in classes. I've been in some hot studios where they do this, and I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. I don't like it. Right? But you can see how the original 34 are following a system. Boomerang, this is my favorite. It's my favorite one to teach. I love boomerang. Boomerang with variation is what I'll teach you. I mean, we will learn the contrology, but yeah, this one actually is insane. Because he's got his legs switching over in pose 3 and teaser with arm extension backwards. So you can understand why on page 44 it says, you probably will not be able to do this. However, it will benefit you. However, have patience. Eventually, you should succeed. Eventually.
Eventually, maybe.
Should.
But you can see how beautiful it is when you understand it. But you can also see why contemporary was given birth to. So we can't really be haters gonna hate. We have to understand as well. Right? To some extent, some empathy there. All right. Then we go to everyone's favorite. Seal. Tighter shape. What else do we notice?
His feet
Mm-hmm.
over his head.
Yeah, he touches the floor
He's got
almost.
like whole elbows in there too,
Mhm.
not just his hands.
That's right.
wrapped. Oh yeah.
This to me is a bandha. This is a yogic bind.
Totally.
Yeah. This to me, I'm like, oh wow.
He could get his feet behind his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just pivot, but just look at number 3. Just please read. Look at me just for 1 second. Go down to the bottom under caution. Pivot body on rump. In rolling backward and forward, you inhale while rolling backward. Press head firmly to mat on floor in rolling upward. You exhale. Like look at picture. He wants you to push your head down on the roll up. I'm like, I don't even know if people can get their head down, darling. Jimmy? That transitions to crab. Samantha loves crab. I think she might come tomorrow. She loves to teach crab. It's a very nice one, actually, when you get the rhythm. Yeah?
I think I pulled too much on like my foot and
What did we do it
last week?
Did I cue it? I might have, because I might have
I
been
think
flowing.
you did it in front of us or something,
Oh.
and then maybe we just kind of like.
You tried it?
Yeah. I always get a foot cramp from that one.
Yeah. Rocking, which is the true variation, not swan dive, but this is where it's a smaller chain, it's a shorter chain, and yet you're still going for extension. Remind me what this is called in yoga.
Bow pose.
Bow, that's it. I always get bow and boat confused.
What's boat? This way?
Boat is lifted, bow is on prone position. It's just because the bow and boat, when people are talking too fast, bow. However, in bow pose, you would probably extend, you would lift up a little.
I forget the Sanskrit name for it, for bow pose. This looks cool.
And this is
This looks
control
cool.
balance.
Oh my god.
So let's take a look. Picture number 1 looks like the 100.
Scared.
Look at this C shape of picture number 2. We can see the C shape. It is a reverse roll up. Is it not?
Yeah.
Picture number 2 is a reverse roll up.
Opposite way.
It's a roll up.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
And you hold one leg there.
Then you've got jackknife with rollover. Picture number 3 is jackknife with rollover. What does this mimic on the reformer, my reformer students? Short box,
Oh, tree.
tree. Take a look. It's just upside down, Joe, the ground.
Yeah. And the hips are
I
lifted.
hold it like that.
But I guess the hips would be lifted because of the box, right?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Everything just copies everything. It's so cool.
I wonder how does he switch his hands then? Does he keep his hands up overhead and just switch the legs? Do
Well,
you know?
Let's take a look. Where was he be switching? In 3, which is both hands. Exhale, release, hold of hands on right foot. Yeah, it's like popo switch.
Okay.
So they'll come down to switch off.
Cool.
And just do it 6 times.
Yeah, don't worry.
Alright? Now, for the push-up, you can see that he's already walked out. Does it not look like forward fold to downward dog? A
Yes.
little or a lot?
Yeah.
Then plank, chaturanga dandasana. Look,
True.
he's on the tips of his toes.
Stop.
So,
Yeah.
right? I think it's so cool. It's yoga. Alright, close the book for a sec. When you take a look at those pictures, let's just talk about why that in its true form we no longer call classical Pilates. This is called Contrology, which is what Joe originally wrote. And what we are learning, we would like to say is classical. We're doing to that what contemporary is doing to us. So let's be soft. Let's just be real for half a second. So we also have to understand, though, that for the industry standard, the stuff we're doing, because people can't do that. Now, I did send you an intermediate, the blonde-haired girl, the Lily whatever. And tonight, hopefully, when I send the link for the books, I will send you the original 34, the one I recommend if you want to give it a practice. But you can see how hard it was. So the first perversion is classical. The second perversion is contemporary. What's the third perversion? Somebody think about it. There's a third one. We don't learn it. We don't call it Pilates even.
It's it's a fusion.
Yeah.
Is it like a yoga?
It could be yoga lattes. It could be TRX.
Oh, yeah.
It could be Tracy Anderson method. It could be, well, I'll be very careful because I don't want to know. But you know what I mean? The third perversion is what? So if we say, let's just talk as if this was the Bible. I'm not trying to say that it is. But if this was like, dum da da da, right? First perversion, or watering down, or editing, or revision, we can say whatever we want because we're having a dialogue here, is classical math repertoire, right? The second is contemporary. You can see why contemporary is bigger though, right?
Yeah.
Contemporary trainings, people will line up because they want all the razzle-dazzle, because this is really hard to do, to live, to cue, and to inspire with. But it is real. You know, there's a Justin Bieber song, as long as you love me, we could be homeless. And like the rap section goes, yeah, it's true, true, true. Grass is greener on the other side. I'd rather water it here with you, whatever. I think Pilates, I know that's ridiculous, but I'm like, classical is where you want to water the grass. The grass is easier on the other side. It's easier to break up and find someone new to be infatuated with. But sometimes sticking that course, because to get to an advanced body will take years. And this wasn't considered an advanced body back then. This was considered the thing. So the third perversion is the wave of fitness in the industry that was breaking this down even further and then spinning it into something new.
I mean, you could say the same thing with contrology too.
Tell me, talk about
I mean,
it.
it's just broken down yoga and gym exercises to make a new thing.
Right. And Joe did it, and he was just a random fella.
Yeah.
So if you grow up and go out into the world, and I mean, don't grow up, I'm not trying to say that patronizing, but leave the training, I know you're a man, but you leave the training, and all of a sudden, 5 years from now, we see Austin, what's your last name again? Litty, methodology, movement modality, trademark, 5 studios in New York. We cannot shit on him. He has a dancer's background, he's got a yoga background, he's a classically trained Pilates teacher, he also does breath work, he also does Qigong, he also does Reiki. We can't shit on him and say, that's not real. Tracy Anderson method. It is Tracy Anderson method. Because that's what Joe did. We like to put it in its placement as we're learning. But to your point, you know, if I want to, those hummingbird arms, I could trademark them and start to propagate them all over, and I might, because Liv wants to make money. I want to make money too. Liv's going to help me make more money than I make, right? Because she's smart. I'm a little too giving, a little too humble, a little too, and I need someone to kind of sharpen my edge there. I need her, right? She's a hype girl and she's good at what she does. Left to my own devices, I'd teach this for free and move to India. Well, probably Bali, I haven't been to India, but do you know what I mean? And I still might do that, it's fine. But I want to speak to the history of it because if we understand that, it's fun to say I'm a classical snob. It's fun, but deep in my core, I know there's nothing to be snobby about because everything is an adaptation of the thing that came before. And as far as we can trace it back, is it yoga, I guess? I don't know what you trace else back to. I don't know because I wasn't there. So we always have to err on the side of also understanding, right? But do know that the third perversion would be, if we're looking at 1, 2, 3, it would be the modern fitness. Like, there's a great girl, Cassie Ho?
Oh, Cassie Ho.
Cassie Ho?
I love her.
Pilatology?
Blogilates.
Blogilates.
Pop Pilates.
Yeah, I remember her.
Blogilates.
That's
What
I
a
started
vibe.
with. That's where my first roll up came from. That's why I can talk and do it.
What a vibe she is.
Oh, she's so cute.
I'll act-
Cassie Ho. And she's
Pull
the
her up
founder
now.
of Blogilates, and she has like a whole fitness line called Pop Pilates, and like.
But
she's
see how
a
she coined
designer.
pop Pilates.
Mhm. She's a Pilates, like she went to school to be a doctor, and then she was like, I really like fitness. So she took Pilates, started teaching it, and then just found herself online and created this whole thing.
She's a vibe,
I love her. She's so cute.
right? She's like, you'll see some classical layerings. You
How
will.
do you have, oh, here? No.
Blogilates.
Blogilates.
Oh.
Because that's when blogs were a thing before
Yeah.
YouTube.
Blogilates.
She would blog her Pilates. But this is also like important for you to know,
I love her.
right?
I'm so happy you know her. Every
Oh,
time
here
I
we
say
go.
something about her, people are like, ooh, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm. Oh, she was the it girl. And,
that's how I started working out at home.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, while we're at it,
The ballet shoes are crazy with the toes out.
I'm gonna stop this for a second, just because I need to look it up.